shit, I just fucked it up.
Music matters. Mellay, man, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Dude, I'm good. I appreciate you doing this, brother. Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for bearing with us after the long-ass setup on a warm day.
It's all good, bro. I got 3 hours to spare.
Yeah, man, yeah. It is officially hot. Like, I'm kind of bracing myself for the onslaught of summer interviews now because it's a different beast. I remember last summer, the setups, I guess the setups last summer were a lot less of this magnitude, though, because we were like, our gear was nowhere near as good as it is now. But it's like now... we have the lights and everything, all the tripods and shit, so it's a whole different kind of setup. So that and the heat is just it's a brutal combination.
Yeah, I hope you you need to start asking like how many outlets
yeah
you can
no
fucking use
dude
when you go interview people.
Yeah, that's facts. We have how many outlets does Power Bar have? Probably like
like 10 at least.
It has like 9 or 10, but like we've never needed anything more than that. But one problem we have had one time is we were at this studio recording and an entire wall was just like blown out. Like there was one plug in the entire studio that worked, and the PC was plugged into it, so we couldn't use it. So we just like couldn't shoot because there was just nothing. Like we needed power. There's no way to do without a power.
Yeah, you got to get your own spot.
Yeah, bro. Oh, that's the next step. I'll get some water. Hell yeah.
It's fucking hot.
Yeah, that's the next step. Once we get our own spot, everything's gonna change, bro. It's gonna be like, cause it's just like triple the content, bro. Cause it's like half the battle is the commute and the setup.
Definitely.
But you're in a sick spot, like where you live. Like I could see like, I feel like if I lived in a place like this, like just the area, I would like the idea of like, I think it'd be annoying like you're talking about because it gets loud, but it's cool because there's a lot of shit going on. I feel like where you live, you know what I mean. Whereas like I live in Concord, in an area that's kind of quiet. It's like a neighborhood. It's deep in a neighborhood, and it's nice that it's quiet. But I mean, you gotta drive to go to anywhere where anything's actually happening.
Yeah, definitely.
So you're originally from Hawaii, right? When did you come back to the Bay?
If you're talking about coming back, like I was born in the Bay.
Oh, okay.
And like we talked about before, my grandma and my mom both grew up in the Bay. But I don't even remember being in the Bay when I was a kid. Like I would just come back to visit my whole life. And I always wanted to move, I guess, back here. Mm-hmm. So I've only been here for like 2.5 years maybe.
How old were you when you moved out?
24, 25.
No. Like moved out of the Bay to like go to Hawaii.
Oh, probably like less than a year.
So you remember nothing? Yeah.
No. I would just like come back a lot because like I said, like my mom and my grandma were both from here.
Was this the area that you were born in the Bay?
Nah, I was born in Marin.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Marin to Hawaii. That's an interesting like kind of like culture shock, I would almost think. Why'd your parents move out there? Just for work or what?
Yeah, I mean pretty much. My mom was a sales rep and my dad moved there when he was like 14, started like a surf shop, which became like a gift store, like a chain of gift stores. So yeah, I don't think they would have like stayed there as long as they did if it wasn't for their business.
A surf shop, that's sick. Did you like grow up surfing?
I mean, I grew up in the water for sure.
Yeah.
I didn't get into surfing until I was like older, but yeah, I did like a lot of body surfing and shit and went to the beach all the time.
I've never done it. It's something I've always wanted to try. I skate a little bit. Like I can't do tricks or anything, but I can like comfortably skateboard. But like I feel like surfing is a whole nother beast. I feel like it'd be something that I don't have the coordination to do.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, if you skate, you already got a pretty big lead on a lot of people.
Yeah. You have like the balance. I would imagine it's a similar kind of balance. Because it is like a board thing. But snowboarding was a hard like thing for me to learn. I just recently snowboarded for the first time ever, and it didn't feel like skating.
I mean, surfing, like, you can get on boards that are, like, so big that it's, like, standing on fucking just regular ground.
Yeah.
Like, it's, like, so, like, they just take tourists out every day, so.
Growing up in Hawaii and then moving to the Bay, I know since you said you don't really have any memories living here, what is the culture like here versus in Hawaii? Like, is it very different? Is it somewhat similar?
I mean, I think Hawaii, like, growing up in Hawaii was just, like, such a unique culture. Like, I haven't been anywhere in the U.S. that has, like, such a unique, like, mix of people. It's, like, such a diverse area because it, like, everyone who lives there, like, came from either, like, being native Hawaiian or, like, working in sugar canes, like, immigrants. There's, like, a ton of immigrants, which is, like, a lot of, like, the slang you hear there now is from like that time period.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What kind of slang is there in Hawaii? Like, I just have no knowledge of this.
You know, like, how is it? Or like, fuck. Yeah, just like a ton of stuff. Like a lot of the slang for the food too. Like different cultures like mixed and came up with like different foods that you can only get in Hawaii. Like a lot of like the plate lunches and shit like that.
Yeah, I've never been to Hawaii. I would love to go sometime.
Yeah.
I always forget that there's like such specific Bay Area slang. I was just having a conversation with with one of my friends about this, like how we don't even realize there's things here that we say that people don't say anywhere else. Like I didn't know that the word Maney was like a Bay Area thing until like recently, and I guess like for a long time, like hella, saying hella was only like a Bay Area thing.
Yeah, I heard about that. Yeah, it was kind of funny coming here because like I didn't even know like a lot of the slang that like throughout the rest of the country. I feel like cap and shit like that. Like,
they don't say any of that shit in Hawaii?
Like v would be sending like cap emojis and I'd be like, what the fuck? Like, what the hell's going on?
Well, why is there a hat there? Yeah. That's funny. So was there a lot of hip hop in Hawaii? Like, did you grow up around hip hop?
Not at all. No, there was like no scene. I think like I've been into music ever since as far as I can remember. I think like the first album I ever had was Bob Marley's like Legend album. Like naturally there's like a ton of reggae that plays. Yeah. Like people play in Hawaii. And then like around the time like 50 Cent was coming out. That was like the whole thing. And yeah, I think the funniest part is like after I started to get into it and like my friend did, my grandma like got super into it.
Wow.
So now like I actually just went back recently to visit her and she had like
she's bumping Roddy Ricch.
Nah. She likes like the older stuff, but she has like a bunch of 50 Cent's albums, like Jay-Z, Snoop Dogg's like album from the 90s.
Yeah.
Which is kind of funny. But yeah, I just grew up like probably like annoying the shit out of my parents because I'd just be like rapping along to like everything.
That almost makes sense. Like that somebody like your grandma would be into out there simply because of the fact that like I feel like there's almost a preconceived notion among people who kind of saw hip hop start versus where it is now. There's like this preconceived notion that they just like are against this music. But then when you have somebody who's like already of age and then they're brought forth this music, I feel like they can then like adapt with it as it changes, opposed to like kind of like watching from the beginning. Because if you watch from the beginning, you kind of have your biases, I would imagine. You have your biases like automatically, immediately, and then there's no changing them. Whereas like if it's brought to you, you can like then study the actual history of it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. She's just a fucking character, honestly. Like, she'll just bump like it's probably like one of the most violent times of like hip hop, like 50 Cent and fucking like, you know, just like straight gangster rap.
Like
shit,
the original gangster rap.
Yeah.
That's funny. When you like, so you said there's no scene out there. How did you get into like making hip hop? You know, like, do you remember when you first like got interested in like actually producing or rapping?
Yeah, I do actually. I don't know exactly what triggered me to like want to try it myself. But I just remember like all I would listen to is hip hop, and I was kind of like, I mean, I still kind of am a loner. Like obviously I've like friends and shit, but I prefer to like be alone. Yeah. So like growing up, like I just had my headphones in like all the fucking time. Like any chance I could get, I was like listening to hip hop. And yeah, one day I just remember like recording using like the Apple headphones back when they had the microphone in the actual like ear headphones.
Like the old ones that you can like hold up and the mic's like right here.
Yeah, and I had like a GarageBand or something, and I just like wrote some shit because I was always like a good writer, but I'd never tried it. But I feel like it kind of came naturally to me just because of how much like I'd been like listening to it and all that. So yeah. Did
you start with rapping or production, or did they kind of just both start at the same time?
No, actually, I've only been producing for a couple of years. Yeah.
Did you start producing because you wanted to like make your own beats because it was hard to find people to, you know, produce for you?
Yeah, it was like a mix of things. Like I think one of the bigger reasons was the cost was just like so fucking high. Like if you buy an exclusive beat, like people will charge you like, you know, up to $1,000, maybe even like 5,000 if it depending on the producer. So I don't have the fucking money for that. And I was tired of like looking through beats and like leasing beats, knowing that like it could just blow up on YouTube and like everyone's gonna fucking use the same beat. And but then like that was like the initial reasoning. But now I feel like the reason why I've kept on doing it, even after I've met other producers, is because of like the ability to craft like really my own kind of sound.
Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess if you're making your own beats to rap over, you don't really have to like trust somebody else to kind of curate exactly what you want. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like my vibe's kind of like weird.
Why do you say that?
Partially because I'm from Hawaii, I think. Like I was influenced by a lot of like kind of like, I don't know, like the West Coast, like, yeah, basically like that coastline kind of sound.
Yeah.
Like back when like Wiz was coming out and like Dom Kennedy and all them. And I feel like
the wave of stoner rap almost.
The what?
Like the wave of stoner rap almost.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's kind of like the vibe that I've been going for. Like, I don't know what you listen to already, but the shit with like that I got with vtizzel.
I listen to all your stuff.
Oh, nice. Yeah, and Contraband and all
I
that.
know word you.
Yeah, that's the stuff I do with them is like more like party shit, but my own stuff is a lot more mellow.
Yeah, like more mellow, and then also like I definitely almost see like the influence from where you grew up. Do a lot of the stereotypes about like growing up in Hawaii kind of reign true? Like when people, because isn't the vast majority of like industry there tourism? Like, do you just grow up around a bunch of tourists?
Yeah, that's actually that's the first time someone's told me a stereotype about Hawaii that's actually been correct.
Well, what are other ones?
Robin asked, like, do you need a fucking passport to go to Hawaii?
That's the dumbest
like,
fucking question.
Yeah. Like, fucking, I mean, when I was younger, like, kids would ask, like, the dumbest questions. If they weren't from there, like, fucking ride dolphins to school, or, like...
Do you ride dolphins?
Everyone assumes, like, all you do is just, like, surf and shit. So, yeah.
People think that shit about California, too. I feel like you aren't from California. Like, people from the Midwest, they'll be like, oh, isn't, like, all of California a beach? It's like, no, not really. Like, I feel like they think all of California is like L.A.
Yeah, I tell everyone, like, it's way different growing up in Hawaii than being like a tourist there and like drinking fucking Mai Tais and shit.
Yeah, I would imagine. I mean, you're from there. It's like it doesn't feel like a vacation because you're from there. You know what I mean? Yeah,
and yeah, it's just like totally different thing. You know.
I have a bunch of cousins who live in Tahoe, and they always complain about like tourists that come there and then don't know how to like either drive or like use the roundabouts there. Because for whatever reason in Tahoe, there's just like a bunch of roundabouts everywhere. And they're like, oh, these idiots from the Bay come up and they have no idea how to like use the roundabouts.
Yeah.
Making hip hop, like, or not making hip hop, I'm sorry. Listening to hip hop as you were like growing up, were you a bit of like an outlier, like compared to what your friends were listening to? Like, what was the music around you that like kids at your school were listening to?
I mean, not so. I think like a lot of people listen to hip hop. But I was definitely like the only fucking kid making hip hop. And yeah, I mean, like being from Hawaii, I feel like that being an artist from Hawaii already makes you like really fucking, it's almost like everyone would just tell me like, bro, you're never gonna fucking make it, like you're from Hawaii.
Really?
Yeah.
Did all the kids you grew up with, at least in school, like know about your music?
Yeah, a few of them did, but honestly, like a lot of people didn't even like a lot of people just started fucking with it. Like when because I had stopped when I was like 22, and then I just started making it again. All of a sudden, like all these people that fucking never liked my music are like hitting me up saying like they like my music now.
So yeah, it's like now that you're older, you're not living there. Like, oh, now you're dope.
Yeah, exactly.
Why'd you stop?
To be completely honest, I think like a lot of that shit, like just getting told like over and over again, like you're never gonna fucking make it, like you're Asian, you're fucking from Hawaii, all this shit. I think it finally just like got to me, and I was kind of just like, bro, maybe they're right. Maybe I should just go like do my own thing and do something else creative. And but I think deep down, like the entire time that I wasn't making music, like some part of me just wanted to be fucking making music again.
Yeah.
So finally I just got back into it.
I mean, people can like shit on your craft as much as you want, but that won't change the passion you have for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I kind of like switched my whole, when I got back into it, my whole like perspective kind of switched too. Like, I don't know, I kind of like adopted that mindset. Like when people doubt me, it just like makes me want to work harder. And also now I see like being from Hawaii as like a positive thing, because I almost feel like I have the freedom to like craft my own sound. It's not influenced by like a certain scene going on there.
That's crazy, because I feel like somebody from Hawaii moved to the Bay. The thing about the Bay is like it's such a specific sound of hip hop. So it's like you're moving into something that's already kind of separate from the mainstream a little bit. And listening to your stuff, a lot of it doesn't sound like traditional Bay Area music. Do you like make a conscious effort to kind of like stray away from a Bay Area sound, or do you just make what you like?
No, I mean, I honestly make the same type of shit that I've kind of like grown into making way before I moved here. So I think it's just been like, that's what's been great about growing up in Hawaii. I didn't have that outside influence. Like maybe I would make more Bay sounding shit if I lived here.
Yeah.
And like, I'm not saying like being in a scene or like being a part of a scene is a bad thing, but for me, like, I think there's like a positive aspect to being able to make something new without like the outside influence.
It's pretty cool that like growing up in Hawaii making hip hop, like you said, like you almost don't have that influence because it really probably forces you to like come up with your own sound.
Yeah,
And like
exactly,
it forces
yeah.
you to like think of outside of the box and like say like, okay, what do I want to sound like outside of all the influences around me? Because there aren't that many influences around you. Whereas like somebody who grew up in the Bay loving hip hop probably grew up on like hyphy music, and then they grow up and they're making hip hop in the Bay. A lot of what they're influenced by is a similar sound. So then a lot of times they probably just fall into that camp, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. But it's just interesting that the idea that like what comes out of you musically is just like whatever's in your brain, and it has a lot less like to do with like the influence and the people around you.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, I mean, you pretty much hit the nail on the head. But I listen to like so many different artists from all these different places, and so I feel like my influences have been like so diverse.
Yeah,
over, like the time that I've listened to hip hop.
Yeah, of course they are. That's crazy. Growing up and then becoming like a rapper and a producer kind of simultaneously, is that something you ever struggle with, like being labeled as like one opposed to the other? I know you said you started making beats like 3 or 4 years ago, but since you kind of started doing that, do people label you as a producer more or as a rapper more? Or do you like not care about the labels, or like would you? Because I've talked to a lot of people who do both, and they struggle with being labeled as like one when they want to be both.
That hasn't been an issue for me because I've just always been. Like I've always just rapped.
Yeah.
So I like tried selling some beats, but I just always wanted to keep the best beats for myself.
Yeah.
So there was never like an opportunity for people to even really see me as a producer unless they look at like the credits or some shit.
Yeah.
Like I don't just like give beats out very often. Or,
So stuff you're making is you're making it for yourself. You're not making beats or anything for anybody else.
I mean, I would like if there's an artist that really liked my sound and wanted a beat, like I'd work with them, but I haven't been like pushing it out there as like a producer. I never like labeled myself as that.
Yeah. Do you do most of your stuff from home? Like, are you mostly a home recorder?
Yeah. Just fucking do it from my bedroom.
Are there challenges that come with that? Because I feel like it's becoming more and more of like an accessible thing. Like people, it's much easier now to home record than it was 5 years ago, opposed to like going to the studio and spending all that money. It's like now you can kind of like almost go past that threshold and like not need that. Do you ever feel yourself like wishing you like were in a studio recording, or do you feel like you don't miss out on anything just recording out of your house?
I mean, if I had the choice, I'd rather like record in a studio. I just feel like I could get in the zone and like, it's like don't work while you sleep, where you sleep. And I fucking like work and I make music and I sleep in the same spot.
Oh, yeah.
So that shit, like I would love to be able to just like go somewhere else, but it's more of like, I don't know. It's not like an urgent thing for me because like you said, like people can fucking, you can get your shit sounding like real good now.
Yeah.
To like even like professional recording, like, I don't know, 10, 20 years ago, you can make it sound way better than that. So,
I mean, kids make like songs in their bedroom that like end up in like the top 10, you know what I mean? And you wouldn't even be able to tell the difference.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's honestly like a beautiful thing. I think as that becomes more and more of a thing, I think it just widens the range of people who are making music, and then that obviously has a butterfly effect, and then it even further widens the range of people making music. And I think the more accessible it is, the more people you have making music, and that's always like a net positive thing.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I wish like hip hop wasn't so much about like clout and shit though, because I feel like it also brings in so many people that just want to be a rapper to be a rapper, or like want to do music just to like they think it's cool to do music or some shit. And then it makes it a lot harder for like good artists to actually like break out of that and get noticed when like every other fucking kid is like making beats or like, you know, treating it as like secondary hobby.
I totally see that. And it also kind of creates this environment where, like, the best stuff, unfortunately, doesn't always rise to the top. A lot of the time, what rises to the top is what's seen.
Exactly.
And sometimes somebody knows how to make great music, but they don't know how to they don't really know how to be seen.
Yeah, that's me.
And it's crazy because it's like more and more of a thing as like social media kind of like starts to dominate this sphere. I know we were talking before the cameras were on about like, you like struggling like using social media and stuff. Have you tried to like make efforts to get better, like increasing your social presence, or why do you think you kind of like struggle with that?
I mean, like real recently, I've started like doing a bunch of research, and I'm just like decided to like just fucking embrace it for what it is. But I'm just not really someone who would even have an Instagram like if I wasn't doing music.
Yeah.
I'd rather talk to someone like even over the phone, like one-on-one. I don't know. It's just like a lot of shit on there that like I don't really feel like I need to know. It's kind of just like wasting my time.
Well, it's not real life. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
A lot of people think of it as real life, but it's like in reality, like, does it really matter if you understand like what somebody in like a different city from you is doing if it's not something important? Like if it's important, you would know about it.
Yeah, and I've talked to so many people that are like get down on themselves and they literally blame Instagram. And it's like, I don't know. It's kind of hard for me to even grasp like how someone could sit there for so long scrolling through it. I don't know, maybe I'm just fucking weird or something, but like I would like, that'd be like torture for me to just like sit there and scroll Instagram for like 3 hours.
Yeah, I feel like in from like a net versus net way, that's probably a very positive thing.
Yeah.
You know, because I totally agree with you. I have a lot of friends, and like not friends, but just people I know that like have told me the same thing. They're like, the more and more I scroll on Instagram, the more down on myself I get, the more self-conscious I get, the more insecure I get. Then why do you do it? You know what I mean? And I think
I think it's almost like an addiction too. So yeah,
that's too. I mean, do you outside of social media, do you find yourself on your phone a lot? Or do you just not like the act of being on your phone?
Nah. It's kind of funny. Like recently, my whole family like compared their fucking. We're all giving each other shit.
Screen time things. Yeah.
Not like by far like the lowest screen time, but at the same time, like I'm not like a saint because I sit in front of my computer like most of the day. Working on music and shit.
Yeah.
But at least like for me, I just have a lot better of a time like when I'm creating something rather than consuming, I guess.
I totally get that, especially when like you look at I don't know if this is just me, but I often when I get too deep into like consuming over creating, I start comparing what I create to what other people create. And it's not like an inspiration thing. It's like a wow, why can't I do this thing?
Yeah, I mean even I still do that too. I'll like go on Spotify and be like, God damn, like I'm fucking working on this song or something, and then I hear like some other song and I'm like, damn.
I mean, even outside of the Instagram thing, it's like you think about like how do you get your song to get like gigantic now, and it's like a whole host of social media platforms outside of Instagram. It's like it's TikTok, and then even beyond that, it's like meeting people to like get yourself on the Spotify editorial playlist, get yourself in the Spotify algorithm, and then like push your music that way. And it sucks. It's almost like that at this point. You have to be doing that to some degree. 'Cause it's very rare that like you can get like a lot of attention without doing it. But I mean, there is obviously people who still just like rise to the top just through the power of their like great music. Like I don't think that'll ever die. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've been like struggling with that a lot too because it definitely like takes away from the creative process. Like I found like recently since I've actually been trying to like promote myself more, like, get more into it. And yeah, I just feel like it's a lot, it like makes music way less fun. It's like, feels like a marketing job. Like half the time you're just trying to like pitch your shit to a playlist, making like press releases. And yeah, I don't know. It's just like a lot of fucking hard work, especially when you work all day and then like you fucking spend like from 5 to 10 like doing music or whatever, and then but then you're also expected to like do all this other like marketing shit. It's like,
do you work like a 9-to-5 job like outside of music?
Yeah.
How do you find time to balance all that stuff? Like, do you just come home? Because I don't like I don't work like a traditional 40-hour week, but I have a job too, and I can relate to how difficult it is to like come home tired and then have to work on shit. You just push through, or like is there a way you kind of stay balanced?
I just fucking do it. And it's honestly like hasn't been. I've actually been trying to like get out more and like go see people and shit because I've been spending way too much time inside. But like my average day, just like go to work. Whenever I get off work, like I might take like a 30-minute break and then just do music until fucking 10, 11 p.m.
and then sleep, and then figure out again. Sleep.
Yeah, and then I have like other shit that I want to do too. So it's like there's not even enough hours in the day.
It's a hard balance.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't know. A lot of people are like, "Oh, I can't do it because I work all day," and it's like, bro, if you want it, like you just don't want it bad enough. Like,
yeah, I agree. I don't know.
A lot of people just like come home and they fucking like watch TV or play video games for the rest of the night, and I think for me, like I literally would feel like I feel like guilty doing that.
Yeah,
like I don't feel
I'm the same way.
Yeah, I feel super guilty, like just sitting there, just like wasting my time.
And then people kind of use the idea of like motivation as an excuse. I don't really buy into the whole motivation thing. I feel like motivation is kind of irrelevant in the factor of like whether or not you do your work. You know what I mean? Nobody's motivated to do everything. You're not gonna wake up every day motivated. Like that's like saying like bro, you think Olympic track runners are motivated to work out every single day? It's like no, they're not motivated to do it. They just push themselves through. Sometimes there is like a lot of power in really just waking up and saying, "Fuck motivation. I'm just gonna do this today."
Yeah, I mean, even last night, I fucking literally just like timed myself for an hour. I told my friend who's like helping me manage my music. I was like, bro, just hold me accountable. Like, time me for an hour, so I can just write through like this writer's block. Instead of being like, oh, it's writer's block, just giving up. Because, yeah, I mean, I think inspiration is like hard to come by.
Yeah.
A lot of times, like you can't just sit around and wait for it. I mean, like everyone fucking says that. That's like such a cliche thing to say, but I think it's so true too.
Well, your day-to-day life isn't always inspiring. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Going to work isn't always the most inspiring thing. It's like you have to either seek out inspiration or like write to find inspiration. I think there's a lot of truth that comes with like just sitting there and like writing a bunch of stuff that isn't good to get to one thing that's good. Yeah, I just finished this book called the War of Art by Stephen Pressfield.
Yeah.
And this one concept he talks about a lot. It's like just sitting down and doing your work, whether or not it's like great work or good work or terrible work. That's kind of irrelevant. What's important is that you sat down and you did it, because unless you work through the bad stuff, you can't really get to the good stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I've been struggling with a lot, because I'll like spend hours. Like recently I was like trying to write a hook, and I wrote like 5 different hooks. Spent like from fucking 9 to 5 just sitting there for like 3 days straight, like wasting my time, because I was like being like such a perfectionist, which like I used to think like back in the day, like I'm a perfectionist, like it was a good thing. But it's like the fucking, obviously you want to have a balance, but it's like one of the worst things for creativity, I think.
Is there like a part of a track that you struggle with writing more than anything else? Like, do you struggle with hooks or bridges or verses? Like, is there a specific part of a song that you end up finding yourself getting hooked on more than other parts?
Yeah, definitely the hook.
The hook, yeah.
The hook is what I get hooked on, because, I think like the hook has to hold the entire rest of the song together. So, and you have to have the melody too. Like when you do rap, like a lot of the verses like don't necessarily have to have melody, even though it's like getting more and more popular. It's more like you can kind of like have melody with your flow, whereas like a hook, if you're doing like melodic hooks, it's a lot harder to like find a melody that works, and then you got to fit the words in there, bro. It's like a fucking crossword puzzle sometimes.
It's also I feel like a harder constraint to work within, because like you can say a lot in a verse, you can't really say as much in a hook, so you don't really have as much to work off of, and so it's almost more just about like making something that's catchy, something that sticks. But it's like at the end of the day, you don't really know what's gonna like stick for somebody else, because what sticks for me can be totally different than what sticks for you.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I've been like meditating and shit. Like I literally, my biggest issue like creatively right now has just been being way too hard on myself, and just I just gotta like break out of that pattern, because I'll waste like fucking hours. Like I'll like sit there for hours and hours and hours and not get shit done.
Is meditating something that like breaks you out of that?
It's been helping, but I think honestly, like I think I'm just gonna start timing myself. I think that's what J. Cole was doing too, is like you just set a timer and like do as much as you can within that time, and really like force yourself to finish. Because if you have like, I have until the end of the day, it's like that saying that you use like as much time as you have.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I feel. Like I'll just like be obsessing over like little things that I should just skip over and just keep writing through.
I think there's a lot of like underrated potential with timing yourself. That's actually something I do a lot. I try to like pick things that I like. I'll have these huge goals. Like I have a list, like a bunch of gigantic goals, like on my phone or whatever. And every once in a while, I'll just sit down. I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna like work on this goal for an hour. It doesn't really matter if I don't know the steps to get to the place. I'm just gonna try to figure them out for an hour. And then it's like plotting on that and then kind of like figuring your way out and like making mistakes and just figuring out like, okay, I'm going to look up like what this takes. Okay, I found what this takes. I'm going to try to do one of these things. I'm going to then move towards this goal. Even if it's like a huge substantial goal, it's like if you can time yourself for an hour a day, that adds up pretty damn quickly. That's a day in a month.
Yeah, definitely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, I think I was just talking to my friend about it too. Like, I think when you're starting out doing something, you can see the progression like real quick.
Totally.
So you're like, if you put in an hour a day, like drawing or whatever, you'll be like, oh shit, like you're getting pretty good at it by like, you know, a month or two. But if you've been working on something for so long, you kind of like reach like a plateau where it's just like becomes very subjective, and it's like you kind of just second guess like is this good? Like, is it not good? But you have like, you're at that level where like it's more just like you overthinking what other people might think of it, not so much like practical skill that you can just like see the growth of, if that makes sense.
Well, think about working out. You know, when you start working out, you see all these gains and all this progression in the first like 3-4 weeks, and then you plateau. And that's what, but that plateau and working through that is what separates people who are like, have a decent physique, people who have like an amazing physique. It's like you have to work through that hard part. It's like the peak, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then getting to the peak and then going down, the reward is at the bottom.
Yeah.
Which is the difficult part. When you, just kind of, interesting to me that you said you meditate a lot when you get in creative slumps. What do you think about that, like, gets you out of that headspace? Because that's something I've, like, tried. I'm not very good at, like, I struggle to, like, sit down and really clear my mind and try to think about nothing and just, like, focus on, like, just, like, my current state and, like, where I am. That's something I'm kind of bad at because I think a lot. So it's hard for me to, like, sit down and just clear my mind. So just out of curiosity, what kind of things do you do to, like, allow yourself to just kind of relax and then just kind of focus on your present?
I mean, to be honest, it's like just hard for me. I think like I like hate meditating. It's like you just said about working out, kind of. It's like you hate it until you do it, and then afterwards you're like, oh, I feel better. But I need to be like way more consistent with it. Like I'm not like some fucking Buddhist or some shit.
Yeah.
But it just like helps kind of de-stress, you know, like get out of like the cluttered kind of mind.
Yeah, it's almost like organizing your head.
Yeah.
Another thing I kind of think about with that is like, it's kind of a funny example, but it's like sometimes I'll get home like really late at night from like either the gym or an interview or whatever or work, and it's like the last thing I want to do is like take a shower before I go to bed. But then it's like if I do, I feel so clean after, and it's like I feel like I sleep way better. I'm more relaxed. But it's like the last thing I want to do, but I'm always happy I did it.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like that was reading too, honestly. Sometimes.
Yeah.
Like it's hard to like find the motivation to sit down and read a book, but then it's like the things you learn from it make it worth it.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you I know like so you had some features out on some of your stuff, but a lot of it was like by yourself as well. When you're like in your creative space and kind of working, does it kind of distract you to have somebody with you, or do you feel like you bounce ideas off better if you have somebody like there cooking up with you at the same time?
That's a good question, because I feel like when I'm working with someone else, I get shit done way faster. But then, like, a lot of times I also don't think the quality's, like, as good. I have, like, a hard time because, yeah, when I'm alone, like, I'll just, like, write and, like, rehearse the lines out loud and make sure that everything's sounding good and, like, switch out things that I think could be better. But when I'm working with someone, then... yeah, it's just like a lot harder to, because you don't want to fucking distract them unless they're like in a different room or something. And yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. I think there's like positives and negatives for me.
Are you choosy with the people you have around you while you're working? Like, will you like be somebody who like if you're working, you only want the people you're working with there, or will you work with like somebody else in the room who maybe they're just chilling or you're just kicking it with them, or does that distract you?
I mean, I wouldn't be like a dick and if someone said like, oh, can my homie come chill? I wouldn't be like, nah, fuck that. but at the same time, like I'd prefer to, I would never like work with like a ton of people just chilling and like talking. Like that would be super distracting for me.
That's kind of the way I am too.
Yeah. I don't know how anyone could fucking do that shit.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Well, I feel like to get in a flow state and kind of like get really into what you're doing, I have to be like in like almost complete silence, almost completely by myself, because I have such a hard time focusing like anyway. It's like there's anything outside of the outside of what I'm doing that like draws my attention, it just won't go back to what I'm doing.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm the same exact way.
Do you I just kind of nardwaring you like I was talking about earlier, stalking your Instagram and shit. You were looking through or I was looking through your stuff, and I noticed you do a lot of like visual art as well, right?
Yeah.
How do you get interested in that? And do you like do all your own cover art and stuff? How does that like tie into and like help your music?
Yeah, I do. I do almost like everything visual so far. And honestly, like even if if music like doesn't end up panning out, I still thank music for getting me into like so many different creative like avenues, because the thing I learned from music is like no one's gonna fucking help you.
Yeah.
So like you can either sit there and like complain about it, or you can like learn how to do it yourself. And that's why you see all these artists that like know how to do multiple things. So that's how I learned like video editing, like the video that's coming out tomorrow. Actually, I edited that, and then I do all my own cover art, press release design, pretty much like anything visual. Yeah.
If like you said, if you end up like, if there was a world where like you stopped creating music, do you think that like you would like transition or pivot into something else creative and try to do something else like that? Because I feel like even if I stopped doing Above the Bridge, it's like the kind of shit and just pursuing avenues like this that keep me sane. You know, like I have to have something like this.
Definitely. Yeah, like I told you about before, this like I'm working on this Super Producers brand, which is kind of like tied into hip hop, but that's like another creative outlet for me, is just doing design work. And I want to do like collab designs with different underground artists, and have a brand like built around like the culture of like underground hip hop and like the bedroom producer culture kind of thing. But yeah, I think like no matter what, I'll always be doing something creative, because I go crazy like if I can't create shit.
Yeah, I agree. I have to have like some avenue somewhere to like pour my thoughts out.
Yeah, I will literally like do anything till like the last option. Like if I fucking lose my hands and my legs, I'll be fucking doing some shit. Like, you know, whatever I can do that will keep me creating, like I'll do.
It keeps you sane.
Yeah.
The Super Producers brand, are you guys just trying to do, so how far along are you with that? When did you start it? And then are you guys just trying to do like clothing stuff, or like what's the exact avenue and vision that you kind of had for that brand?
Well, I came up with the concept like sorry about that. Fucking lawnmower and shit. Should I close this?
Yeah, probably.
Came up with the concept like 5 months ago, maybe. But then like that was around the time where like the company I was working for was going under, so like I kind of had to fucking switch my focus. But right now I'm trying to build it back up. But excuse me, the whole concept is just I don't know. As like an artist, I always want to like wear shit, like any culture that you're part of. If you're like a skater, you want to wear like skate brands and shit. You want to kind of like represent like the culture that you are passionate about. And I felt like that was missing in hip hop, and I don't really understand why. There's like all these different there's like such a huge community. Like everyone you fucking talk to makes music. So I'm like, where's like the brands that like are for this like community? And so yeah, I just got the idea, and I was like, man, it'd be dope to like have a brand, and then also use that brand to like do collabs with like different underground artists that are really talented and aren't getting like you know, money or like exposure, and like help them be able to like make some money for their music through like merch that they could sell, and also help promote them.
That's interesting. I feel like you like, I mean, it seems like you saw a shortage of that, so you did it. You didn't have beats and or didn't have the money to like buy beats, so you started making them. You seem like somebody who like, if you have a shortcoming or something, you kind of just like find that hurdle and then do it yourself.
Oh yeah, I mean, that's like what I live by pretty much, is just do it yourself. I like, and like I always try to help friends out and shit. And like the thing that's like irritates me the most, like when they just like make excuses, because like nowadays we live in a world, even people like always come to me and they're like, ask me questions, and it's like, bro, you got like this fucking magical thing called Google that can answer any question. Like, why are you asking? Like, I'm just gonna Google it for you.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy to me like how like helpless people can be. It's like you can learn anything. Like I'm self-taught in everything that I do, even my job, all through like YouTube and shit. Like it's there. You just gotta go find it.
Is that how you learn how to like make beats or even like write?
Yeah, that's how. Actually, like writing, I think kind of just came from listening to a bunch of music. But everything other than that, like video editing, graphic design, UX design, even like coding, like drawing. I've been trying to like get better at illustrating and like piano and shit. It's all just like YouTube or Udemy or something, which is like another site that's like, you got to pay like, it's always on sale. So it's like $10 for like a 24-hour like course. And actually like I just started taking one on social media marketing because I was talking to you about how much I hate that, but
you can learn anything on the internet, man. Like literally everything that like I do with Above the Bridge, I all learn on the internet. Like, like how to shoot interviews, I learned on the internet. Like how to like, use cameras, how to like do all this audio engineering. That's not audio engineering stuff, but like, just like the equipment I needed, how to use all of it. I learned all that through YouTube. Like talking about like how to like do different merch drops and stuff, like find people to like work for you and stuff, all of this shit. I learned all of it through YouTube. I just looked up like how to do all these things.
Yeah, exactly.
And I get frustrated in the same way. Like when people make excuses like, oh, I don't know how to do that. It's like, then figure it out.
Yeah, it's just crazy, man. Like I think it definitely helps having like someone there to like teach you if you have that resource. But I think in the end, like a lot of people just don't want to put in the work.
Yeah, I think so too.
They want you to like give them some fucking magic, like just teach me how to do this in one day, and then like, and I'll just give them whatever I know, but they won't practice it. So then they come back like a month later, like, how do you mix? Like, I was like, bro, I just taught you like fucking a month ago. Not that I'm even that good at mixing, but like a lot better than like some of these some artists. But yeah, I don't know. I just always like fucking, like I said, like creating and just like doing shit new. Like,
find a hole and fill it.
Yeah, I don't like following, like, I try to like break out of, if I find myself like falling into like a trend, I try to like, not to be like, sound like a fucking hipster or some shit, but I just like try to like take that and do something new with it. Like evolve, take it. I don't know. I think that's what hip hop's lacking a lot right now, is just like a new sounds, like, I really like miss like the, like 2010s to 13 or whatever, when like all these different artists were coming out, like Wiz, Mac Miller, and it just had like people just with so like such unique sounds, and like Kid Cudi. I feel like there's like a big lack right now.
What do you think is missing now that used to be there back then? Is it just like the fact that there were so many different things happening, or what?
I don't really know what it is. I think a lot of it just has to do with like what the industry is pushing out. I think it's like, we found the formula, give us the formula. So I'm sure the music's still out there, but they're just like artists like me and like other people that you've interviewed that haven't, been given an opportunity to like show the world something new, because no one wants to take the risk on it.
A lot of it's corporatized too. That's a big part of it. Like,
exactly.
People don't realize that there's somebody in charge of what they see.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, we already found what's going to make us money. So like, why should we
stray from it?
Yeah. I don't know all the details, because I'm sure it was similar. That was only like 10 years ago, but yeah, I don't know. I've been trying to find like, I've been listening to like Slow Tie and
Slow Tie is super fire.
Yeah. Have you heard of Posse Lou?
No.
Yeah, he's kind of in that scene too, but
like the UK scene?
Yeah, but more like alternative. Like, I don't know. You should check him out.
What's his name?
Posse Lou.
Posse Lou, okay.
Yeah. But yeah, and like Cruel Santino, who's like a Nigerian artist. Like I've been fucking had to like dig real deep to find like artists that are putting out stuff that is like really unique.
A lot of the times that's like where you have to look, like overseas in different places.
Yeah.
In the same, even in hip hop, or even in rock music. One thing that's interesting for me is like, I feel like a lot of people talk about like the death of rock music in America, but it's interesting if you go and you look at Australia, because there's a lot of really cool rock music coming out of Australia right now. And interestingly enough, a lot of that is, and the reason it's like rose to the mainstream is because there's laws in Australia with the radio play. It's that specific artists with like specific numbers, they're required to play. Every radio station is required that plays music constantly is required to play like artists of different age groups, artists that have different numbers of streaming, and then also artists of different subgenres. So it kind of like really like diversifies like what you hear on the radio.
Damn, that's crazy.
Yeah, I almost feel like
man,
that.
I'd be so much happier if we had that here.
Yeah,
not even just for me, but just like finding artists. Like, it's been real hard for me to like find new artists for me that I can really get behind.
Is there like a way you like look out to like try to find new artists? Like, is there kind of any way you're tapped into like finding new music, or is that something you like can't? I know you said you struggle with it, but like how do you attempt to do it?
I feel like every once in a while I'll just get lucky and like on YouTube like recommended. I'll like find a song or like go back to even like an older song, and then like something's recommended, and fucking spin the wheel and see like every once in a while I get something good. But
it's funny, it's the artists who like really, really, really get good at like getting themselves seen in that lens, getting themselves seen by people who are looking for things just like them. Those are the artists that really rise to the top. It's like the idea with like the Spotify algorithm. If you can like get into like the sphere of like getting playlisted or like getting on people's like Discover Weeklies, when people are just looking for new music, that's kind of how you get like fans, because nobody's gonna like retain your music and like really come back and listen to all your stuff like time and time again if they aren't actively looking for new music. You know what I mean? They might like come across it and it's like, oh, that's hard, and then just never come back to it because they already have what they're listening to. So I feel like a big thing is like getting your stuff out to people who like are looking for new music, and that's a hard thing to do. But
yeah, definitely. But I also think like a lot of people are looking for new things to listen to. Like all my friends are like, we always talk about it, like, any new artists, like we send each other shit. But yeah, I know there's like a lot of people out there that are like wanting something new and they just can't find it.
Yeah.
So I don't know what like the solution is to that, but
that's part of what I'm doing. That's part of what I'm trying to do. Yeah,
for sure.
Part of what Above the Bridge is trying to be that solution.
Yeah, definitely.
A place for people to just come and look for new artists. It's funny, we were talking about like platforms like No Jumper before, and like how like, or in the early days, a lot of what they did was like put on underground artists. But I do feel there's a lack of that too, because I feel like music media is so focused on the mainstream, because all anybody really like, or all like the masses really want to like hear about is an interview of somebody from the mainstream. But I feel like if there was a cool platform that could kind of do what places like No Jumper were doing in the early days, or I don't know, shout out to Sheesh Media. They're a music media company that I feel like does a really good job like putting on like underground artists, but they're always good artists. They're always things that like have a mass appeal to a lot of people, so it kind of like doesn't dilute the quality of what they're doing, even though they work with smaller artists, and it's cool too because it gives them a platform. It's like a place where like a lot of stuff that really is like good and genuine can rise to the top, which I think is sick.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I gotta check that out then.
Yeah, they're sick. Sheesh Media is the name. So when I know you mentioned you were a writer. Do you ever like in the when you're working and recording, do you ever freestyle like to a beat if you really like it, or do you mostly like or do anything off the top, or are you pretty much all writtens?
Yeah, I definitely like do. Recently, actually, I started doing it maybe like a year ago or something, but especially for melodies, I'll just like fucking say the most gibberish shit, but just like get into a flow and like do a bunch of different melodies, especially for like hooks. It helps a lot.
And then just figure out what sticks.
Yeah, and then come back and do the words after that, because yeah, I don't know, I've just found it to be a lot easier doing it that way rather than like trying to come up with a melody as you're writing, like 1/10 of the fucking entire hook or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've been doing quite a bit of that.
Has the way like you make music and the way you record and like the way you like your whole process, has it like changed a lot since you started making music, or has it kind of remained consistent?
Oh yeah, I mean, mostly just because all the things that I've learned along the way. Like at first I didn't even know what mixing was. Like, I just fucking use GarageBand, like record myself, like, and the lyric, like the the vocals would sound super muddy. I didn't even know like how to use EQ, and then I like got into mixing, and then after that I got into production. So I feel like it naturally evolved, and I can just get my stuff sounding a lot closer to like what I'm envisioning. And also grew, like, I feel like I matured a lot since I started, making music. Like my old shit when I was making music in high school, it's like cringy for me to listen to now. It's like, goddamn, bro, like just talking about smoking weed and like stupid shit. But now I feel like I'm a lot better at like expressing, like being vulnerable and like expressing like who I actually like truly am, rather than like back then it was like, you want to fit in because you're in high school.
Almost like a farce. Like you were like putting on some kind of like rapper image.
Yeah, exactly. Like it was like, bro, I didn't fucking like smoking weed that much. Like I smoked a lot of weed, but it wasn't like, I was never like Wiz Khalifa type stoner. Like, but that was like what was hot back then. And you're also like when you're in high school, you're like fucking, you want to like fit in. So I feel like a lot of it was just like, just not as like true to who I was. And now I don't give a fuck. I just like put out what, how I feel basically.
That's kind of what you have to do. Just whatever like comes out. And then that is how you kind of have the most honesty in your stuff.
Yeah. And it's been like therapeutic for me too. 'Cause, mean, I'm sure you talked to other artists like this. Actually, I saw like one interview, but like mental health, you know, fucking being depressed and shit. And like, I went to see like a therapist, didn't fucking help at all. And then when I got back into making music,
Really?
like all of a sudden, if I like just sit there and write, it helps way more than sitting and talking to like a therapist or something. I don't know exactly what it is, but yeah, it's just been like more spiritual, I guess. Like I'm not even like that spiritual, but that's like the closest way I could put it, I guess.
It's free therapy.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, I feel that with interviewing. I feel that with like what I do. Honestly, it's free therapy.
Yeah.
And that's the most beautiful part about it.
Yep.
All right, man. Last thing I wanted to ask you, if there was like one message you want to like spread through your music, if there was one thing you want people to like get out of your output, like what would it be?
Honestly, I think the number one thing that I'd be proud of if I did make it is just like, it sounds like so cliche, but just like showing people who fucking aren't from like a place that's expected within what they want to do, that they can still fucking do it. Like I've had like a super supportive family my whole life, but even like there've been like a couple times where like, you're fucking Asian, like you're never gonna make it, like straight up. Or Jesus. You know, I've had friends like tell me like yeah, like I said before, just like, you're from fucking Hawaii, like you're never gonna make it, like you know. So if I can fucking show that I can, that'd be like the most powerful message, just right there. And just fucking yeah, be able to show anyone, if you work hard enough, you can do it. And I'm sure I'll, like with music or something else, like I want to fucking do it one day, like with whatever I do. But I think yeah, I think there's so many people that just get down on themselves and give up because everyone else thinks that they can't do it. And
it's about knowing that you can do it and just keep doing it until you don't.
That almost fucking stopped me from making music. Luckily, I came back and like changed my whole mindset. Now it's just like more fuel to the fire. But yeah, there was a time where I was like taking it way, like I was like, you know, you get told something so many times, you finally start thinking like, damn, maybe they're right. But I don't think so anymore.
Oh yeah, man. Don't listen to him.
Yeah.
All right, brother. Appreciate you sitting down with me, man. This is a sick conversation.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, tell them. So you said you have a video dropping tomorrow?
Yeah.
Tell them where they could watch that and like tell them like listen to your stuff.
Yeah, it's just gonna be on YouTube, which is like not even.
What's that?
My YouTube is not popping at all, but it's called Outliers with it's me and vtizzel. We just fucking shot it right here. Like,
V.
Yeah, V, and yeah, we just shot it like right here in the living room over like an hour, and I just edited the shit
on some DIY shit.
Yeah, I was just like tired of waiting, and I was like, gotta put something out. So yeah, you can check it out on YouTube under Mellay, and then yeah, I'll have a link to it on my Instagram at Mellay the Ghost.
Fire.
Yeah.
All right, Mellay, appreciate you, bro.
Yeah, appreciate you, man. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Music matters.